So welcome everybody to Breakthrough Fear, the Fearless Experience. We are right in the middle, session 3. And we were just talking offline, but I just wanted to say shout out to our friend Paula Weens. We miss you. We were actually talking. I didn't want to share your business publicly, but I just wanted to say publicly that your face is missed. So as you do watch the replays, I want to just say welcome to everyone. It is exciting that I've been getting messages. I have been seeing people actually write in the community, but I've been getting private messages. A lot of people aren't able to make it on live, but they are following the replays, which is absolutely shocking to me. And for my first fearless experience, I wouldn't normally use numbers. And I know it for some people, this number actually may seem small, but for somebody that had their entire everything blow up right as they were trying to launch something brand new, and Miss L helped me and Craig helped me, but I mean, literally, I didn't, last Tuesday, I don't think I highlighted it extremely because I didn't want, but I literally barely got on. I like my laptop, getting on Zoom, getting on the internet. I literally barely made it. So I got to really practice pushing through fear. And also when the Lord gives you these little, like, so he told me what to do, and he said, send messages to these people. And then lo and behold, people shared on their pages. I didn't even ask people to do it, and I started to see people sharing on the pages. And then God was like, okay, go outside and do a video from your phone. And what was really funny is I this kind of reminded me when old fears or old some things come up and they don't go the way that you expected. For me, that fear of failure definitely can come in. But what's really funny is a year ago when COVID happened, I used everything from my cell phone and it was working just fine and dandy. I didn't have a webcam, and I had an old school desktop. My laptop had gone down, and God does provide, but sometimes you get to use what you have. What you have will work fine. It may not be as glamorous and look all fancy as other people's, but it was working, and God actually was humbling me and reminding me of that. Like, really, Jodi, you're throwing a fit. You know how to use this phone. You go live in it all the time. I get it. You may not be able to see everybody on the big screen and be able to see all that, but you know how to do it. And so I got to shift my heart to gratitude. All of that to say, he gave me, I mean, literally this started on Tuesday, and I didn't have a link or any promos until Saturday afternoon. And I did not do very many promos either because of everything going on with everything and me trying to do it all from my phone. But Monday afternoon, God said, go out and take a video and invite people. And I couldn't even do that well, guys. If you only know, I had to take that video like 10 times. My hair was blowing, the dogs were barking, kids were riding their motorcycles. It was like, but I did that, and I shared the link, and then I kept sharing it even after we started, because, and I don't know if anybody is like this, but I didn't really plan to talk about this part, but I just felt like the Lord is saying that these are where fears will sometimes come in when you're doing something uncomfortable and you're doing something new and it feels really uncomfortable. And even if you've done it a different way, when all your tools that you're comfortable with are taken away, and or even that what other people will think. And I think we did definitely talk about this on Tuesday, but in the inside of my head, the chatter that was going on was, oh, see, people are going to think you're so unprofessional. See, no one's going to join your fearless. Like, here you waited to call it. Wait, I'm hearing in my head. See, here you waited to call it something different, right? But you waited on God. I'm here. It's definitely not God chatter. I'm just going to tell you the chatter that's going, see, you waited, and now you're not even going to have anybody that's going to show up for this. You've been putting all this effort in and no one's even going to show up. And I'm like, okay. And then I was hesitant to keep doing like introductions and talk about it even after it started. And because the chatter in my head, the other side, not the God side, this is this is this is definitely, so I don't know if you guys can relate, but the chatter over here was saying, that's so unprofessional, that's going to look desperate that you are still promoting. But the God side, I kept pushing towards the peace, and that's what we were talking about last week, was the peace. I share this not anything but to give God all the glory. We have 40 people signed up right now, and a lot of them I don't even know, which is amazing. Like, this is like they're from friends of friends, and it's so exciting to have this, and then even it not looking exactly the way I want, right? Like, not everyone's on every Zoom. And if I could just be real, I'm like, God, you're just really having me tell on myself today. Even this morning, when I had some people show up, but not a lot, I'm thinking, oh, well, now that I'm the guest and not a special guest, no one is showing up. Again, I'm telling you what these things sound like, so that you, like, because here's the thing, I would love to tell you that these things are going to go away. And maybe someone out there, if anybody has hit a level where it has gone away, I would love to hear it. But so far, even mentors of mine that I honor and respect, the chatter is always going to be there. That other voice, the fear, what it sounds like, and what this first breakthrough fearless experience is really helping you guys start to identify it. So, and then what are the tools, the scriptures? Esther brought some amazing stuff, and scriptures and tools. What are the things you're going to do to combat it? Because I always love to say, over here is the faith beast and the fear monster. But which are we going to feed? Which are we going to step into? Are we going to step into faith, or are we going to allow the fear monster to take over? So it's always the stance. The fear could look different. What your body feels can look different. You know, a lot of times for me, the fear of man and the fear of failure, and some of those I will just start to go, oh, why did I try? What? So I wanted to talk about that today. And then I wanted to just open it up for a minute and welcome Cheryl. So nice to have you. And those of you that are watching this inside the community, hopefully right at this minute, you're hearing me say, I know it's not live, so you can't type it like a normal live would be in Facebook, but I really would love you to type in some of that you are watching it, number one, where you're joining from, so we can all connect with you. And also what you're thinking. So like speak it out loud. Oh yeah, today that you know, the fear monster was going, you know, my faith beast was way down here, and the fear monster was really going. And but let's all share about it. And you guys in here, hi Cheryl, oh, you're joining from Oklahoma, and we've got South Africa. This is awesome. Yeah, everybody put where you're joining from. I love that. I'm going to read them all in just a minute. And what I would like to do, I know we have some people that aren't able to get on camera, and some people that may be a place where they can't take their mics off, but I would really love a little participation of those of you actually in the comments, let me know how many have listened to session 1 and session 2. So just put 1, 2, or both. So if you've listened to both, put both. But I'm just curious who has listened. Okay, so Elle has listened to both. Tracy has listened to both. Okay. What I'm curious is, as you guys have been going through this, I know session 1, we were really talking about how we recognize peace and how we recognize when we're in fear, and what is the pathway to get over there. What are the things we're going to do to recognize it? And then Elle, are you going to let that person in?
I just did. I had already done it.
Awesome.
I pressed the
My
button.
instinct was to go over there. Welcome,
Okay.
Dee. Hello, hello. So what I wanted to do is, first of all, in the comments, guys, it's super cool to see. So make sure you guys see everybody that's in there, where they're joining from. It's quite exciting. We have 2 from South Africa. We have Wales. We have Oklahoma. We have West Virginia, it looks like. I know Dee is California. I am kind of central California, close to, in California, sometimes people just call it northern and southern, but it's a big gap. Like, so certain areas when people call it Northern California, I'm like, you're not Northern California. So there's kind of central, there's kind of Bay Area. Bay Area is considered down near San Francisco, San Jose, some of those big areas. And then we have kind of the Central Coast, and the Central Valley is what they call. So technically I'm in San Joaquin County, which is kind of where the valley, the Central Valley starts. We have mountains to one side. We're probably about an hour and a half from the ocean, and probably about an hour and a half from like some of the mountains near Tahoe, instead, like some of the real snowy mountains and all of that, about 2 hours probably. So I love Central California because we're kind of close. We're about a 2 to 3 hour drive from everything, except LA. It's probably about 6 to 8, depending on where you're going, if you're going to LA or San Diego. So I love that. But what I wanted to do was just take a moment, and if everybody would be willing to just share one thing that God has been showing you so far through the fearless experience. Maybe it's a specific fear. Maybe it's something that he's been showing you how through it. So I'm wondering if everybody would be willing to share. So let's see. I trust him. Okay. I really would like you guys, if you're willing to take your microphones off and share with your voice, just because I do feel that there's a power in that. No pressure though. If obviously I will totally honor if you want, if you're in a place where you can't say it. I've been there before, or if you don't want to be heard or seen on camera. It will be seen inside the group, and most likely if you're off camera, they will just hear your voice. But I just saw Acelia go on camera, so I'm going to ask Acelia first, and then I'm sure Elle has something to share, and then I would like you guys to type in here if you're willing to go. So Acelia.
Just something, we know it, but it's just something that Esther said again is like, fear is just the emotion, you know. It's just like, and every time when it pops up, it's like okay, you have control over it. Don't let it start bulldozing you, you know. It's just the emotion and you have a choice. That was just, you know these things, but it's just like ding. And then just one thing that she also said was, for me, is, why do you do stuff? You do stuff because for the audience of one. And that is really one thing that keep on reminding myself now why you're doing stuff is for the audience of one. So yeah.
That's good. And is there, have you had any praise reports or victories in the since we started last Tuesday? I'm just, if anybody would like to share a victory or even something that maybe happened.
Celia has a victory.
Oh,
Your deposit's
Jodi.
paid.
Yes, but she knows.
Yeah, but everybody else doesn't
but
know. I didn't know that till you told me earlier on today. That's amazing.
No, because you know why I didn't say a word? Because I wasn't on here, and this is the Fearless group. It is not our breakthrough group, so that's why I didn't really share it.
Well,
And I wanted my student link before I do the post, because I wasn't really waiting for that student link. Yeah, so that's all of that. And
we can still just go woo, 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 woo.
yes, I would say let's celebrate no matter what.
Yeah.
So those of you that don't know,
see, look, Tracy Joy's excited too.
Yeah.
See,
so Acelia, just so those that are joining in, so some of the people on here are in my breakthrough group coaching, because they all were so willing, as we're opening up the registration in the future here, once the Fearless Experience is done, we wanted to really allow you guys to have a full experience. And so we're doing it on our breakthrough coaching days. So, but I want, Celia, I feel like your story is going to encourage somebody that's
and
watching.
it's good practice. It's good practice for you, because for when you start sharing it all, go on, tell us your story. Go on, it's be fearless.
Because
audience
you
of one
have been pushing through and being fearless, and there's been a lot of fears that have come up in this little story in general.
Okay, so for those who did not know, last year, December, the Lord told me to apply at Bethel School, Ministry School.
Oh, and make sure you let people know where you're joining from, because I think that is pretty significant. In America, it would still be significant to go to Redding, California, but where you're joining from, I think, is even more
much different. Yeah, I'm joining from South Africa, so it's very far to go there, and it's actually just a challenge to get to Reading. So yes, and then I said yes, I will do it, and the journey began. And the first thing that I had to do is to pay my $500 to get a student number and to really be part of it. First, I had to do an interview, and then they accepted me. That was the first thing. Then the $500, which I paid last week. So I got a student number and a student link and everything. So I'm now like official, and we're running this race. So everybody knows.
I'm doing my happy dance.
I know. I'm doing my that face. So but it is it's like Jodi said, a lot of things happened this week, a lot of negativity, a lot of moments, but we pulled through. And my thing is still saying everybody, not everybody celebrated with you. So the thing is still that I say, but God, so did I choose to listen? How it will happen, I don't know. And how I will fly, I don't know. And all those things, I do not have the answers. I don't know when I will have the answers, but for now, I'm taking every step that is happening on that to-do list, or what you have to do at Bethel, and I'm taking it really day by day. So that is my journey. So I'll see you guys in California very soon.
Yes, and here's, I just wanted to share for some people, Acelia and I literally connected. And to me, it's so, when we're talking about the audience of one, which is God, and doing what he tells you to do, a joint friend now, and actually one of Esther Weaver, who was on, it's one of her dearest best friends, Rebecca Magukin. Which I had met Rebecca and her husband, Dr. Israel, in Lodi, and she began to go live and do this thing in the midst of the lockdown last year. And God kept telling me, get on. And I remember she was doing it 4 days a week. And one amazing silver lining in the midst of all the lockdowns, especially the first half, was every person that normally you go pay a lot of money for, they were all home. So they were doing free things that you would normally. So God kept telling me, well, you could do that. How about do some more training? How about like these? And so she was doing it 4 days a week at the time, and God kept telling me to get on. And I mean, there were times where I'm getting on in my car and I'm driving because I was supposed to be somewhere, and all these different things. But like, to me, I love this story because if God wants to connect you, he's going to connect you. Acelia is friends with them, but Rebecca does hers at 3:00 on Mondays, which is like the middle of the night. Now, and I also met Angelique this way and Tracy Joy, but Acelia was not on. And so all of a sudden I get this message that says, I got to watch you, and something I said connected her and I, and then we just kept connecting. But one of the coolest things is I think God showed clarity of going to Bethel as she started breakthrough group coaching. But what the wildest thing was, and I just want to highlight these things because it's in the little moments that I think we forget to look back and go, wow, God, I am from Redding, California, where Bethel is. So here her and I God says yes. And we're like, oh my gosh, there might be a chance. Like, not only am I going to get to meet you, and I have a lot of friends that are actually up in Redding and tied in now to the school also, which in the past I didn't. But I'm like, I'll totally pick you up. We'll have, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. But it was only barely a year ago that we even connected. And so if you might be feeling like transition is going on in your life, which I don't know who doesn't have it right now, some area, and what transition sometimes looks like, it is that you sometimes aren't able to connect with the people that you connect with before or do things exactly the way. That to me is even so more exciting. Is I'm sitting here looking at Acelia, and we actually start this at a time at the 10:00 hour. So our overseas people can be involved so they're not asleep. So and honestly, to even think that when God gave me a seed of a dream and where that would be, it's just wild to me. But it's listening to that one audience of God. And there was something, Acelia, you shared, and I'm not going to overshare because I know a little behind the scenes of the story, but I did feel like this is something that will trigger doubt, will trigger different fears, fear of what other people think instead of that one audience of God. But you said not everybody is celebrating it. And so I don't know if anybody else has been in that situation. I have and continue to be. And so I think that we have to sometimes readjust our expectations. And what I loved what Esther said, and that stuck with me too, Acelia, is the audience of one. Go back and ask the Lord, okay, is this the step you want me to take? Like when everything was blown up, I was like ready to quit and not do the fearless challenge. I'm like, how am I going to do it? And I kept hearing yes. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden Elle sends me a message and she's like, I know I said that normally I don't help with this, but God is telling me if you need my help, I will help you. And out of nowhere. And so there is focus on the things that the doors God is opening. Most of the time, I'm just going to be honest with you, besides the audience of one God, there might be 5, 6, 7, but to that, there's going to be people, they're just not there. And they normally think that they are helping, and they maybe have had a hurt and they're trying to prevent you or give you advice to help you with that. And so I think when you said that, Asilia, if you'd like to expand a little bit on it, because I think that that is a really important factor of walking through fear and choosing to be fearless in the middle of it when not everybody is celebrating, and you might start to doubt, am I doing what God wants me to do?
Yeah, for me was just, normally I would not putting all this stuff in this journey on Facebook, like all of you know, is like a big challenge for me. And because normally I would not put anything on there because of the audience and because of people's negativity. So I will just, totally trust and have a group of people around me that goes with me. So this was differently. And to put it on there and just get like in people's opinions. But yes, everybody has an opinion. And like Jodi said, sometimes they just want to protect you. But it's for me, like in my walk with, it was always just like, but God, God said it. And I was just reminded about it. I mean, actually, after I spoke to Jodi, after I've got this email that is like, okay, know what, this, and it's all the things is very true, and it's happening in the world, but God. Because, I mean, it just takes your faith a little, you stretch you, and just like, and he said it, it will settle it. And then I start thinking, okay, what if it does not happen, But still, I did it take step, then it's just, I was obedient. First of all, I was obedient. And then I start taking steps one by one by one. How it's going to unfold, I do not know. But I'm just taking, because it is overwhelming, because it's so big, but taking step by step, it's better for me, and it brings it a bit smaller. And everything, okay, God, I've did this. Okay, let's do the next step. And yeah, so I hope that helps, or that's answer your question.
Yeah, and here's a question I have for you, Asilia. So when I was talking about the fear monster and the faith beast, when I'm sure there's many moments in this journey when the $500 that she needed to just lock in and get her student ID, then people can donate directly, then there's all these things. And she was $50 from, she went live. And I do think that the fear monster will be when you're doing something where you're putting yourself out to a new place, and God, and it's a public place, there's gonna be fears, guys. The fear monster is going to talk. The one I wanted, since you shared about, and you didn't go into detail, but just to clarify, because I did read it, the letter wasn't tremendously, from my point of view, hateful at all, but it definitely had words that would make you, the instruction that Asilia was feeling, probably from Coach Jodi pushing her, was to continue to bring people on the journey with her and go more public. So getting this letter from somebody, a few of the tones of the letter basically were like, well, we fund our own, we don't bring other people along. All of these things that are going directly against what already the fear monster is going crazy over here, right, Asilia? Like, it's God's calling you, but we have this moment, fear, peace, faith, feed our faith, like keep feeding the faith of what God said. But it's always going to be scary, like the part of your story. She is a missionary. So Asilia is a missionary. So she continues to go on mission trips. Those are a huge faith of trusting God for provision. So I just wanted to make sure people knew that, Asilia, because which to me, that would be a whole new level to have to get on, and it would be a whole hard level for me. But she normally has done it private. She doesn't get on and share on her public Facebook page and on her journey. But as she goes back and forth and really doesn't want to go public, but she knows that the Lord is saying there's something in her story, and that audience of one, right, is what is God saying? But as she did it, and I just want to make sure that people know that there'll be it'll continue with moments, and you get to make a choice, right? So she did it, then God provided, right? $500, which is like a celebration. And she had shared privately with a few people. And this is a very long message, by the way. Like, it wasn't like, and the person was just sharing, well, are you really sure you heard from God? Are you really sure he's saying to go all the way out there? I don't, like, they were speaking to the present situation, which is a valid but God moment. Right now, the UK is closed. How are you even going to get to America? I don't think they're giving, I don't want to say all the stuff, but I feel like in this situation, Asilia, I feel like there's someone that needs to hear this, and maybe you're practicing because but so that's where she was at. So right at that moment, Asilia, what would you say were a couple of tools? Because one was, you let me in. I mean, honestly, calling a safe person in, and she knew that I had this major eye situation going on. My eye, I was raging red. I could barely see out of it. So I want to know, what did you do? What were those inner voices to push through the faith in the midst of getting that letter? And it did start to make you be disappointed. I mean, I would be, right? Oh, take your microphone.
Yeah, it didn't start because the stuff that they did say, most of it is, it's what's happening in the world today, and it's true. Apart from they did not believe on going public and stuff like that. So yes, it was true. But if I'm going towards a goal, sometimes all those things are true, but that's not your focus. So I actually forgot, oh, there's COVID, I cannot do that, and all that. It's just, I need to do this now, I need to focus on this. So that's all for me, I think it was for me like a almost reminder what is going on in the world, and that's why it hit me. And then then you start doubting, okay, did I hear right? And that's why I addressed Jodi, because I mean, even before I told anybody, she confirmed it, and then I said, yeah, but God told me already that last year. So I just actually wanted somebody yes, you did right, and you did hear right. And then I started, boom, okay. And just the other day, God reminded me, yes, I did say that, after our conversation. So for me is what's just the moments, yeah, it was just really, but God, it's just totally trust, and but God. I do not know the answers, but God. And that is really for me, the thing is, I really don't know. I really don't, and I do not have the answers. And everything is coming against me, but God. And that's the only thing that I'm clinging to.
I love that. Asilia, thank you for sharing, because I think that it has been going on during our fearless experience, and of breaking through fear. And I think that it's real, all of that. And what are we going to water though? What are we going to say? And what Asilia said is, here's the thing, guys, we will have, every human being has their own filters, has their own hurts. We can't make them our enemy. we still have to, and we might have to forgive them if we were very disappointed and we expected them to be that person to maybe link arms with us and say, get back up, girl, you got this. And they're not the one. But God gives us wisdom, and he gives us awareness, and he gives us all of these things to not to make somebody the bad guy, because if you make somebody the bad guy, then you're making yourself the victim, and then it becomes powerless. And then I'm going to tell you, you're moving over to the fear monster zone. Okay. So this is all about how do we shift it. So when something directly comes in that literally attacks every worst case fear, okay, Celia's is a perfect example, but I'm sure all of us have it. Again, maybe I just get to practice it in a really large way, but I have it all the time that come up. And even in that moment, I have to shift my heart for gratitude. I'm not a victim. Okay, God, you are bigger. Are you bringing this up because maybe there's still some seedlings I need to, cut off and castrate? Are there still some things that are from an old memory, an old wound, that you're allowing this to come up and show me that it's triggering me for a reason, right? Or I could just go over to the other, I call it cycle, because I can only go by what I do, but I'm always the one that misses out. See, it's never going to happen for me. Why does all this? And let me just tell you, in my life, I have people that will even say, well, your life's just wild. Oh, if it's going to happen to somebody, Jodi, it's going to happen to you. And I have good friends that say that, and I love them. But I also now understand, okay, they're probably not going to be the friend that I call in a moment of everything exploding of my computer, because that moment, hearing that, I might be a little weak, and it is just okay, Lord, what are you saying? Sometimes he's just saying me and you, and go in your prayer language, Jodi, which that takes some discipline, because if we're just being real, sometimes we like people to join our pity party. I mean, I like to call it the pity party tea party. And sometimes we like to do that. And so again, God gives us fruits of the spirit, and one of them is self-control. And so we get to practice that, right? The feelings and the self-control, and as Celia really addressed today about the emotion, and Esther shared about this, identifying that fear is an emotion. So it is like it's a dance. In which way am I going to be intentional? Well, I'm just going to tell you, most of us will go towards the one that we've done in the past and disappoint, and all the past disappointments sometimes will come up. So I think it is important to get that wisdom and that clarity from God of who, but also to see it and read those words. And here's the thing, don't hate the person, like I said, but look at those words and go, oh, you liar. That what I love that Esther said was, fear, you're a liar. So what am I feeling, Celia? What were you feeling as you started to read that? Some fear, some doubt, some disappointment, right? Like, oh my gosh, maybe this person is right. I need to not go public, even though I kind of know I do. But honestly, like, look at that. They attacked the thing that she already was struggling with, wanting to be public in their culture. I think Americans are a little more bold, maybe just in general, but that's how I think, it's a proper thing. You don't let other people in to your stuff or ask people and things like that. So her worst case, where she's already fighting doing it, that was the part that to me stood out the best. But then it's processing through it and seeing the lies, false evidence appearing real. Well, we have God that it handles the impossible. So yes, it is false evidence. Is it real in our system at this moment? Yeah, but who is God? All over the Bible. But then suddenly, But then suddenly Sarah was pregnant at 90 something years old. But then suddenly the sea parted, the Red Sea parted. But then suddenly, quite frankly, in the Bible, you're going to see a lot of but then suddenlies. A lot of times I think we don't see the back part of the story of the timing not happening, or we don't filter it. Like for myself, I'll go back and I'm like, oh man, I wonder what Moses was thinking as, during this moment and this thing. And, I mean, all the different things and doubting God. You can really pick any book of the Bible and open it up. And one thing I love, every single book is different. You've got Old Testament, you've got New Testament, but typically in every single book of the Bible, and probably even every chapter, but at least in each book, there is always there is something going on. God has told them and promised them. And then there is all the real life things that are coming against it over here. So when we shift our lens, right? Like today you get to see me. I can't see you very clearly right now at all. I put my glasses on, which these are your glasses of faith. It's what I want you to think of. Your glasses of faith mean you get to step into faith. And when you choose to feed the faith, and another feeding of faith, I've got news. You can't do both at once, okay? You just can't. You might still feel fearful, but when you all of a sudden choose to feed the faith, the fear will start to disappear, but you have to make an action. I see this, I identify it. I get it that it may actually be truth in a real situation. And so in this letter, because I did get to read it, and I was reading it from a different lens, obviously, of supporting the Cilia, not in the midst of it, but I could identify immediately. And then what happened was eventually, I think me just confirming it helped her shift over to faith. Like, nope, God, you have said this, and the but God. And that's what I love that you're saying, Cecilia, but God said. But God said. I'm going to tell you, most of the time, a situation that you're supposed to be doing, there's going to be a lot of fear that comes in, and you have to do. The reason why I called it kick fear in the face, because you have to be aware and shift and do an action. I'm going to tell you, you don't do any action, this is going to be like, it's going to be gasoline on the fire. Okay, so you have to realize, okay, I'm going to look through this. Ooh, no, that's a lie. Fear, you're a liar. Yes, can I not fly right now? But the truth is, you've already provided a ticket for me. So God, if you already have made it to where I have a ticket flying into America, obviously it could work. But God, you have people in Bethel that in the midst of the pandemic have already come over or in the current school, and they did get a visa. They did get a student visa. So God, you're saying that I'm going to be there. That means my miraculous student visa is going to come in. I'm going to be able to fly into the UK and then fly to America. I'm going to be able, you do have a story you want me to tell, and me being willing to be vulnerable and to be authentic and get on a public format and share my story. I'm not begging. This is your story though, God. And why would I want to hide it under a bush, right? Like, why wouldn't I want to celebrate? Is there risk in that? Absolutely. But then everybody doesn't get to share in the victory. Just like, I'm just going to tell you, if you all think I wanted to tell anybody of everything that blew up, I didn't, but he still had me go on and do Throwdown Prayer Thursday. He still had me go on and share this last Thursday. And I'm like, really, God, you want me to share these things? Because it's not about me. It's not about me. And I have to get out of my way and remember, it's not about me. And honestly, again, shift that lens of going, new perspective. Ooh, I'm getting some opposition. People are responding. Some, you could call them haters, but I was telling Cecilia, like, I'm so used to it now, but I've had to practice. I get responses all the time. All the time. Well, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Oh, I mean, even the fact I didn't have a laptop. I mean, people, again, they were trying to be helpful, but oh gosh, maybe when I've been pushing through the dream God's given me, I've had many people tell me that I should have gone back and worked at McDonald's. I'm being completely truthful because I'm using an old school thing. I don't have all the equipment, but God factor. And for a moment, I was like feeling really bad. And these are ongoing journeys. So these things pop up every time I do something where I'm really kicking fear in the face. And I think in some ways for me, when I did this challenge, I kind of had to laugh at myself afterwards because I'm like, of course I'm going to get to practice it. I guess somehow my expectation was, since I've already been kicking fear in the face, I'm just going to do it and things are just going to be perfect. Nope. So each time I wanted to give up, I kept going. I heard this little God voice. You're doing a challenge called Breakthrough Fear, the fearless experience. You're in a moment. What are you going to do, Jodi? What are you going to do? You going to let fear overtake you? Well, no. So I shifted, right? I put my new glasses. I put my new perspective. Okay, what is the enemy? The enemy is not a person. I just want, I feel really strongly that we sometimes make people or even a feeling, depending on the gifting of how our gifts work, we can see things, but it's not a person. God's showing us something, and then what are we supposed to do with it? Sometimes we're supposed to learn how to push through somebody not loving us. I mean, again, just my journey, but my journey has been being okay, because God says to me, I say I come for the one, Jodi. I say I come for the one. So if you have 100 people telling you that they don't love what you're saying, but I bring that one person, I could look at it, Celia, all the way from South Africa, right? Several of the times she responded to something I said in this group, I was holding back. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is okay. And I'm having this thing boil up, and then I'll type something because God's like, you need to release this. I released it, and I remember this, and God will even use people like this to remind you, because what I said, which I was so nervous and I didn't want to say, and here's someone that wasn't even on the call. I didn't even know she was sending it to any other person to watch. Here, Acelia saw it, and God used that to water something in Acelia. And it so impacted her that she chose to stop what she was doing, look me up, and send me a message. And so I think that we forget the one. Not only are we to an audience of one, which is God, but what if God is calling us to do something that we have to kick fear in the face and be fearless, and it's for that one lost sheep. It's for that one that's struggling right at that moment. And that shifts, again, that helps me take from here to a new perspective. And I say that because today I don't have my contacts in, those of you that maybe didn't catch the behind the scenes. So I am wearing my glasses. And so without my contacts in, you all are just fuzziness right now. And then when I see this, all of a sudden I can see clearly, I can read the wording, I can see all of your faces, I can see that's Cecilia, Tracy Joy, I can see all these things, right? So I feel like the Lord is saying, what is that moment that you recognize it and you shift and go, oh, you're a liar. I'm putting my fearless glasses on. You're a liar. Because it's gonna happen. And what helps me is, okay, the one said to do it, and I am willing and humble to be used for one. And I don't ever even need to see it. If the one says to do it, it doesn't matter if the 2,000 don't like it. If he's saying to share your story, are you willing to do it for just one? And that always helps me move into fearlessness. Yes, God. And I hope this is helping someone. And so I want to just, let's see, I think, Elle, do you have something to share? I felt like you might have something to share.
I had lots of thoughts as you were talking, but no. So it's funny when you were talking about the audience of one last week, when Esther said that, I didn't even think she meant the audience of one as in like God. Like, obviously I'm talking to God about stuff. I thought she meant what you were saying now about, we get so hung up on the numbers, but actually if each time we're sharing something, we're just sharing it for one person. And so it's interesting to hear it from that different perspective as well. But when you were talking about the enemy as well, it reminded me of a video series I was watching this week, the Crazy Faith series that I shared with you in Breakthrough before. Well, the episode I watched this week, he was talking about when Jesus was being tempted in the wilderness, and how, like, Satan didn't choose to wait until Jesus had just finished a really yummy meal to say, turn these stones into bread. He waited till he was really, really hungry. And it reminded me, like, the fact that this person who wrote this email to Acelia happened to pick up on that one point that she's already challenged by and already feels weak around. I mean, isn't that just like the enemy's way? I'm not suggesting the person who wrote the email is the devil, but, like, so often those things that will trigger us, and those things that actually can either hurt us or have that temptation to make us feed fear rather than feed faith, are those things that we already feel a bit vulnerable around as well. And so I thought that was interesting. So I haven't done anything else to say, really. Just, yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And what's coming to me right now is and I just read, Marie, what you said, good words. Yes, I get haters. It's scary, but good to hear your perspective. And that was really on my heart today, because I feel like we have so much power and authority inside of us to activate it, but it's still false evidence appearing real even if it's real and we think that we heard somebody say something, okay, and we could sit there and be like, no, I know I heard it, okay, but again, but God, who is God? God is my defender. God is, and so I really feel part of why I wanted to do this, and we will do multiple fearless experiences, because we get to practice a whole lot of places to be fearless, is we're never going to change. Because we've been hurt sometimes, we want to now protect ourselves. But when you're protecting yourselves, you're staying over in the fear. When you identify, shift, ooh, what is it in that person that's triggering me? So I had a situation that happened Sunday night, and it could or could not have been real. Okay. I could sit there and there were words that directly came out of somebody's mouth that I thought I heard a certain way, to an expectation that, and then I could have been humiliated in it, as being a leader. And I literally was about ready to take my bag and go home. I mean, in the middle of ministry of praying for somebody, because of what they said has directly come out of other people's mouths that have shut me down. Is it true that, but again, the person is not my enemy. It's, oh, how come this always comes up? Okay, what am I going to see? Am I going to shrink back down under the fear, or am I going to identify it? So God had a funny sense of humor, because I literally had to walk past the person to get to my purse. So I, and we're in, and just, I think, being someone that was kind of in a leadership role, I was thinking, okay, I can shift this whole atmosphere right now. And there is ministry going on for this other person that it needs to be continued to break through. So the person told me what they actually meant. And even the words that are coming out of this person's mouth are words that are said that are my trigger words. Okay. Something like, well, hey, that's not what I said. That's all on you. You're broken in an area. Well, that was right. Makes me even want to go like, this is not an appropriate way to talk, right? Like this is like real, not even something I might be sensing that is probably real too. I could sense, I could feel. Those of you guys that are feelers, that really feel feelings, they're real. But what are we going to do to equip ourselves? So all of this was happening, and I was like, oh, okay, I have a choice. So I had to just step away for a minute. And then I went back over to where I was. And you know what I saw? I saw that the other two people that were sitting there with this person, because I was in the midst of praying for somebody. And the word that they used was something that people have said to me before that triggered me, right? You're not qualified. You're not this. You didn't hear God right. Like, and again, the person, I truly believe they didn't mean it that way. The enemy came in and he knew what my little hot spots are, right? To shut me down, because he didn't want me to go back over and help. And I saw that the other two people continued right what God was showing me. So I moved over. I sat there, I just continued to pray and agree and let the other two people. And then all of a sudden the Lord showed me something, and I could tell that things, they had it. And I got back up and walked over to that person and I apologized to them. Now, did I love the delivery? No. But the truth of the matter was I had to own my part, which was I took what they said and got very offended, very offended. And God showed me it was from these other people. So my pride did not want to do it, because she was literally saying, well, it's on you. There's a wound in you. Well, now I'm going to have to humble myself and admit that she's right. But then I walked over there and she said, I didn't mean it this way. I could have, but this is what. And honestly, I'm not sure. Part of my discernment tells me maybe it did. Okay. But I share that because this is real. And I had to choose the bigger thing. I had to choose, this is somebody that I'm in relationship with. This is somebody I don't want to disconnect from. So their words are saying this. I am going to apologize and own my part, because my part was really not nice. I mean, it was, as a leader, it shifted everything. It was a big trigger. And sit with the Lord and go, ooh, why did I believe that lie? Because here's the thing, even if somebody says that, I shouldn't have been shaken. That's where God wants us to get. I shouldn't have had these glasses come off. I should have grabbed them back on, and I shouldn't have been shaken, because if God is telling me to do something, then even if there's haters, even if there's doubters, even if people think maybe I'm doing something that's not exactly right, and I'm not saying do things in a prideful, haughty, rude, in your face, I'm going to do it anyway. But here's the thing, the other person didn't even know that I was interpreting it that way until obviously, I blew up and like, okay, obviously I'm doing the wrong thing. I mean, it was super insecure. It triggered some things, but here was the part I get to celebrate. In the past, guys, I would have left. I would have gone out in my car and cried my eyes out, felt that misunderstood, felt it's always happened. But because I keep pushing through the fear, I didn't. And I also didn't let the devil have a win with this other person and all the other people. And then, and be open to looking at, okay, well, what can I do different next time, God? How do you want me to respond? Because it brought on guilt and shame and embarrassment too, guys. Like, oh my gosh, like afterwards you look at it, right? And then somebody called to check on me the next day, and I wanted to, for a moment, even though this is a super close, dear friend that I know is a safe friend and was truly, their intention was to check on me, and didn't feel it was appropriate to bring it up after that. And I really, you know what I was able to say? And this is the part I want you to know to get to. I said, no, I thought we were fine. My heart was clear. And it really was. I ended that moment of walking back over and saying, I'm sorry. I didn't want to say it. And you know what? There could have been blame to go around everybody, but I'm going to own what God is telling me. And no matter what the reason was, my response was not lovely at all. It triggered something, and I could ignore it or I could own it. And I think that that's what it is. We don't look at it as, especially with the fear of man. So my fear of man was being triggered. The words that this person said, they didn't mean them in that way. I think that they were actually just talking a little loud. I took it because other people have literally meant it that way. They have meant it that way. This person, I do not believe she meant it that way whatsoever. And the enemy took it. He's like, aha, see, Jody's got a fear of man and what other people think. And so, and I didn't shut it down, guys. I mean, it was, but then the victory is I did. And we ended. And I was able to say to this person yesterday, no, my heart was good. Do we think the other person is? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And here's the thing. I was able to end that. We had already talked about collecting some money for someone that needed to get on an airplane flight. And had I left, we would not have done any of that. I had my heart clear. I said, hey guys, we wrote a card for this person, all collected money, and I took it over to this person. So all of that but one, that person would have been missed if I didn't realize and go, ooh, okay, this is coming from the enemy's camp. I can't make a person the enemy. This is coming from the who tries to come in, but me and God are better than this. And what has he showed me? And then partnering with that. And so, I don't know, does that make sense?
I have something to share if there's a moment to share it, because it ties in with something. Is there time to share?
Mhm.
Okay, because it ties in with something earlier on today. I was writing with God, and one of the things he said is, what if your flaws, in inverted commas, or like we're talking about today, those things that trigger us, because we always have those things, like you and I share some of these. Oh, you're too much, you're too loud, you talk too much, you're too over-enthused, all this. So we share some of these. What if that's actually your greatest gift? And the invitation I had was, okay, sit with me and ask me how I actually see them. So I actually did a big long list of 11 different things, including you talk too much, you're this, you're that, your feet are horrible, blah, 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 like this silly stuff and everything. Then, okay, God, what do you say about all of these things? And so for some of them, the big ones, he then showed that they are a gift. What was really interesting though, is then after that I'd done that, there's something came up via Facebook message where basically I wasn't like you're describing. It wasn't, I was just misinterpreting it. This person told me I was too overwhelming, or I overwhelmed them. I was just basically too much for them. And there was no other way to read it. And so I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But then, like you say, you have that choice, don't you? You can either go and choose to go and let it damage you. But thankfully, because I'd already gone through this whole exercise and then of seeing those flaws or those things, I'm using inverted commas because they're not flaws per se, because talking is brilliant. But like, those things that trigger us, that keep coming up, are actually they're a gift from God. And so like, I'm not saying this is your homework, but like if anybody ever wants to try it, I would encourage you to do it, because it was really, for me, I found it really powerful to actually hear what God says about these things. So like, for example, when I told him about my feet, I said, because I have got very funny shaped feet. He said, you've got strong, firm feet that are rooted in me. I was like, okay, well, that's cool. So it was all, even the silly stuff, he had a really nice answer for. Nice is a trite word, but you know what I mean? And so it tied in with what you were saying as well. And so thank you for sharing it, because to share that is really vulnerable. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Dee says also, Dee, I saw what you just said about I've had to fight through words also. So I wanted to address that, because maybe there are ways that we hear from God. Number one, sometimes we're a feeler, sometimes we're a hearer, sometimes we're a seer. There's different ways, but there's love languages of what means love to us. And so one of them is words of affirmation. Another is acts of service, meaning you like to do things to serve other people, and love is serving back. Another one is quality time. But and it's a book out there called Love Languages, and you can actually take a quiz. If I can find it, I'll post it in. Elle, if you find it, post it in the community. But what I wanted to highlight, Dee, with you is you and I are probably similar. One of my strong love languages is words of affirmation. So the opposite of that gift is when words criticize me, when words come against that maybe are doubting what I think I hear, or even fully you are too much, the word that is spoken can feel like the opposite of love to me. So it's my responsibility to learn these things so that I can learn other people's love languages and try to show them love. But I can also understand that it's not anybody else's responsibility. Like, I have to own my part. So the person's, what you were just saying, Dee, about the word, it was their word. And again, that is what triggered me, because I am very sensitive to words. So a word is language, is love for me. That is a word, love language, because my heart is to make people feel loved. My heart is for people to feel that. So when I hear a word, and this has been something that has thrown me off before. So each of you might be different. So I'm just using my example, because when Dee shared that, I felt like, Dee, I thank you for being so vulnerable, because that is a trigger for me. And so here is something that where I have to get a moment. So like I said, that I have it with different family members. And so sometimes I've had Dan say a word, and what God says is to come back and say, oh, can you tell me what you meant by blank? Because what that word means to me is, and let me just tell you, the devil knows the words that mean failure to me, that mean that mean a rejection to me, that mean all of these things, because I am very sensitive to words. And every single time, as I have learned, like I said, Sunday was an extreme, and it took me a minute to catch myself, because I'm going to tell you, the word is actually a really positive word, and it's called sozo. Okay. But the person used that, which I interpreted, this is not time to do this, you're too much. I wasn't being understood. Again, I don't even think the person, it turns out, was talking about something they had just released in prayer to the person, not even had to do with me. So it's false evidence appearing real, right? So a technique I've learned to use is to say, okay, what did they mean? Sometimes I'll just ask the person. So a good example of what I could have done if I felt so strong with that, and to stop in the middle of the prayer, which honestly I should not have done. I should have just shut it down. I should have seen it for what it was. But I could have walked over and said, oh, okay, what did you mean by that? What I found out after the whole blow up is, and like I said, she was genuine. I didn't mean that. If I did, I would have told you. And that might happen another time, but that's not what I meant with this. I was not saying that what you were doing was out of line. But here's the important part. Again, checking the lens. I need to understand how things that I'm sensitive to. For some of you, it might be there are gifts where you literally feel what other people's insecurities are. You feel, and it probably feels like they're always coming directly at you. So for me, it's words. It's the word. And there'll be a certain word. And because in the past, I have literally, like you were saying, Elle, like it was real. Even like But still, it doesn't mean that I need to take that. Like the person was saying that, but how do I readjust and go, okay, God, what were you telling me? No, you did tell me to do this. And it was so, for me, fear of rejection and fear of failure were all rising up in words. And so the person that said it, it was the words that triggered me. So Elle, you said, oh, it makes sense that words are so powerful to you to use too. Yeah, it's one of my love languages. So
Yeah,
one of
but
your
I'd never thought of it like that before. The thing that actually can, because I words of affirmation are one of my love languages, and so it's interesting that the things that feed us, that's also the way that we naturally express love. Although we can learn to love in other people's languages, it makes sense. Then actually, that's also one of our greatest gifts that God uses to like pour his love out into the world through us as well. I just never made that connection. That's like an extra zzz in my brain. So thank you.
Yeah, and not everybody is that way, but Acelia, I think that words of affirmation could be one of your love languages too. And I'm going to tell you how you know. It's because when you read words, it hits you, right? You are more sensitive to them. You're reading what they're saying. It's like, ugh. And so I think it's important to understand those things. I would encourage you guys. I think that she did the love language quiz here. Elle, once I upload the video, will you copy it in there too in our group? So if you guys are watching this on replay, you'll see the love language. But I would encourage
there's also a book as well. There's lots of different books now.
Yeah, there's a book, but I think that taking the quiz, it shares a lot. And for this, I think it would be. Oh, you cut up. Uh-oh, are you there?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you, but I don't know. Can you not hear me?
Now I can hear you again.
Okay, I don't know. My internet went wobbly. But yeah, no, the quiz is good.
So for the Fearless Challenge, I would love you all to take it and type in session 3. So even if you guys are on now, once it's up, let's get a discussion and share what my top 2, I believe, are words of affirmation and quality time, which this has really helped me, because if I'm dealing with somebody that's not quality time and words of affirmation are not their love language, which this has been where my big beta tester has been, is my own sister. And where God has shown me her love language is another one of physical touch and acts of service, which are not my top 2. They're my bottom. Okay. So God will say to me, go give her a big hug and kiss and go clean the kitchen for her. And everything, when I go give her a hug, that speaks love to her and she feels safe then. So I get to tell her how I'm experiencing it without being defensive. Like, this is how what you just said. And guess what? She has the choice to want to connect with me or not, or to get it or not. But I get to keep coming back, not in defense, like, because it's different. You hurt my feelings. What you just said, it's like darts. But here's the thing, they've always been that way. Words, negative words or positive words, are part of my love language. So I can't expect somebody else to understand it. I can, though, help them understand it, right? By just saying, and so it's probably not the best time to say it when you are in that escalated moment, because most of the time you aren't going to say it. It probably won't be delivered as a heart to heart. It'll be delivered as a, and so looking at this Sunday event, when I did go back over and I did from my heart share, I mean, I had to own my part. My part was not lovely. It doesn't matter that the person's words triggered me, and I felt it reminded me of other people that judged me. it still was unloving, unkind, and I needed to own my part and come back and say I was sorry. And then I did say, oh, this is how I was experiencing it. And then it gave her a chance, but I had diffused at that point, and I went back over. And I've done this with my sister too, not in the moment, but later I'll say, when you say that word, I'm very sensitive to that. And so she has really tried to be more aware, but it's not her love language. And so I think that the good news is we all get to practice, and we all get to know that we're in this human experiment together, and God has designed us to be together, and he has designed things to be sandpaper to help us go, ooh, I don't like how this feels. We really do have two choices. The fear choice is to isolate, to avoid, to go over here and just say, I'm going to take my bag and go home. And I mean, literally, that's what I was aiming to do. I'm just being super vulnerable and transparent to you guys. That has not flared up to that level. Honestly, probably my sister triggers me, and there might have been something about this person that their love languages are maybe a bit more like my sister, just saying this out loud. And so that might have been part of it, because, if you have a sibling, we're only 3 years apart. So we've lived our whole lives together. So we've gotten really good at triggering each other. And so it normally, I will tell you that in your family situation, you probably have a whole lot of beta test practice. And so you get to look at it differently, but being powerful, because God has made us powerful. He has made us victorious. He has made us fearless, but we have to not ignore our feelings, but identify it and then say, ooh, where is that coming from? And how am I going to shift it? And in that shift, guys, that's when you go and kick that moment in the face. And for me to be able to say at the end of it, no, my heart was clear, was such a victory. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, Dee says yes. So Elle, did you have anything you wanted to add and share? And I know we're going over a little, so I'll probably wrap this up soon.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Only to fill on with what you said about how you can definitely learn. Like, I know that acts of service is one of my husband's love languages. He's never taken the test, but I can just tell from who he is. And it's really not like, I hate cleaning and stuff, but I know that, like, if he's been a long day in work, and particularly when the kids are small and they made a lot of mess, they're not so messy now, I'd make an actual effort to make sure everything was nice and clean and tidy, because it made him feel loved and all the rest of it. Even though to me, I'm like, that's absolute nonsense, it's only a bit of mess. But you can learn, can't you? So like you said with your sister, you can make deliberate choices.
Yeah, and I have that here too. And it's really funny, because with my eye and all these things, the kitchen is a bit of a mess. I knew I had to wake up and just talk to God this morning, because in here was still clutter. So clutter gets me a little overwhelmed. And I heard my husband going, oh, to him, the kitchen, it's not a disaster, but again, what am I sensitive to? The words. So I heard it's a disaster, and I could let that feed me, right? But instead, I know once I get off here, I'm going to go out there. I'm feeling so much better. My eye is like 100% now. It's not hurting me as much. And I'm going to, exactly what you just said, Ed, Elle, my husband's love language, one of them is acts of service. Here's the funny part. We both are words of affirmation. But what I started to realize is the words of affirmation he gives me are around acts of service. So I get to shift that, right? I get to go, okay, how am I going to love him today? Okay, I did hear that word, and I know that triggers me, right? Like, just strong descriptive words. It's a disaster. Like, when I'm thinking, it's not. Okay, but I'm going to put my glasses on of love and go, I'm going to go love well, And even though, well, I love what you said, because we're like twins. And
I know. I was just thinking that in my head, we're like the same person. Like, and then you're
'Cause-
Dan and him. They're like, that's just like
you're done. But yeah.
I'm like,
Oh my gosh, I am telling you. But again, when I realize that that is a fruit of the Spirit that God gives us, which is self-control and love and kindness and joy. So I get to choose, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to love well. I'm going to put my earbuds in and I'm just going to clean. And I actually had an appointment canceled this afternoon. And so I know I've got the time. I might even vacuum. I'm feeling better. You know, there's been a lot of overwhelm, but in my head, I'm thinking, you've got plenty of things that look messy to me that you haven't cleaned up, right? But instead, I'm coming back. Hi, Cheryl. And instead, I'm coming back, and just like you said, Al, I'm saying, oh no, I'm gonna fight for love. Like, so you said with your husband, it seems ridiculous in our, because we're made up different. And I'm just gonna tell you, whoever you're probably, and spouses, siblings, a big wake up, they're not going to be the same as you. Me and Elle could be like, oh my gosh, but probably like her husband and my husband, because that is a revelation. They're not, but now we can look at it from a new lens. Okay, how can I love them well? How can I see this in a new perspective, God, your perspective? Because I know your perspective is not to put me with somebody that just we're constantly agitating each other. Help me go up to a higher level, and how can I love well? And you know what? I just have to tell you, the first 5 to 7 years, 10 years, we're going to be married 19. I did not do this well at all, because you know what the word said to me? Oh, you're a 50s housewife. Just get in there and clean, clean, clean. Like I'm very sensitive to words. So that was not what he was meaning. And it took me a really long time to shift. So if I can help you guys all push the acceleration button in this and just sit with the Lord and ask him to even show how you filter something. And one of 4, if anybody is a love language person, if a word is triggering you, reshift and ask that person, oh, what do you mean by that? And not in a defensive way. That will not work well. Well, I thought you were saying this. No, what do you mean by that? Every time I say that, it's not as strong as my ear just filtered it. It's like, oh, well, I just meant that, blah, blah. Oh, that is a totally, it's like, have you ever looked up in a dictionary and one word can mean multiple things? In the English, like, so a perfect example is the British English and the American English. They could mean 2 totally different things. Like,
fanny in English, in the UK English, is a very different word to fanny in American English.
Yes. And so if you are sensitive to words at all, and how you'll know is, people say, well, why do you need to be, affirmed or that a boy? But that's just a way that is love. So for me, when people cheer for me, that gets me excited. So it's another sign that words of affirmation is one of my love languages. And then quality time. So like for my sister, an example, she'll be like, you take too long to say something. I don't call you because that was a 20-minute conversation. One of my love languages is quality time and words of affirmation. So now she's just saying with her words that I'm way too much of a talker and that it's not valuable to her. So, but if I can now understand that those are mine and identify, like you said, Elle, I'm going to tell you, once you personally read them, don't go make everybody else take it. So how I first discovered it was through my pastor. And this was, thank goodness, a while ago. But I remember going to him and saying, Jason, I figured out what Dan, thank you for giving me that quiz to take. I now know what Dan's, he's loving me the wrong way. And he's like, oh, Jode, that is not why I had you take that. It's how you can identify and now love people well, right? Because the fruit of the spirit of love and the fruit of the spirit of kindness means God is so kind that he always speaks our love language, right? Like he knows I made her, she loves to hear words. So I'm going to speak words to her. You're lovely. You're, in the Bible, show her 5 different versions of the dialects of the Bible, because words are something. So that's why when I read now in the Passion Translation or a different translation, that for me is like, whoa, that's a new way God's speaking to me, right? Words are a form of love for me. But love may be something different for other people. And the more that I shift, instead of making everybody make it about me, and I shift, okay, how can I love well? How can I, God, what do you want to partner with me? So that little moment of asking people that, and then the other one to realize, okay, my sister's not trying to hurt my feelings. She's a gotta do girl. She's acts of service and touch. So if you know my sister never sits down. She's going. So to her to give me 2 minutes is like 2 hours in another. And so then I can, instead of me feeling lack, right? I'm lacking. She doesn't ever want to, guess what? I've got another friend like Elle that could sit there and chat with me for 2 hours and we would have a lovely time. And so, because her and I maybe are a little more similar, but now am I going to sit there and be mad at my sister? No, she's not the same person. So if she does call me and give me 2 minutes or reach out to me, I'm going to look at that as wonderful. Wow. She stopped what she was doing. She called me and she made 2 minutes of time. But I will tell you, for years, I looked at it. See, I'm not important to her. She can't even make 2 minutes of her time. But now I understand my sister, that's not on it, that's not in her dictionary. 2 minutes of her time is a lot of time. I think did you guys want to add something? No? Okay. So, oh, Cheryl, you hit the button. It was nice to see your face. Yeah, so Dee, you hear what we're saying too. So that's your guys' homework, is just sitting with the Lord, and even what are some of the things that trigger you? How go take that test, ask him for revelation. And I was saying, don't go make everybody else take the test, right? So that you're telling people how to love you. That will not be the most loveliest. I'll just tell you, that's not, again, it's from a point of you and God and what he wants to show you. But what I found is exactly what you said, Elle. I can identify, there are enough people in my close family circle that I can identify immediately people now that their love language is acts of service. Their love language is quality time. Their love language, I think there's one more. There's quality time, acts of service, gifts. Yeah. So if your love language is not gifts, you could think a person's a bit materialistic.
Yeah.
But they're not. And I'll tell you, like, I can identify now. I have a sister-in-law that is this way, an aunt that is this way. And here's a little key for gifts. They're the first person to always send you a card, always get you something very thoughtful, not necessarily spending a ton of money, but they're the first person to do that. So again, I could think, well, I'm just not that type of person. But I'll tell you what, for those people, as hard as it is for me to remember to send a card early, that those people are on my list. I'd like to do every reminder possible, because I know that that's like a big giant hug and love to them to open up a card on their day, Christmas, whatever it is. Other people, they might be like me, and that's not important. And maybe if I just, give them a word through and text or call and say, hey, Merry Christmas. Their love tank is full. And that's what love languages is really about, is how are we going to fill up it? And if we've been deficient, how are we going to readjust it? And so I hope that was helpful. And I really do think that it's something that really helps with when those fears come up, how you're going to combat it and move over to faith. And so it's been, I know this one was a little long. And so I totally understand that everybody could stay on, but it's so great to have you guys all on. And please go in the community and share. And I've been practicing my videos. I did a live on YouTube yesterday. I did something wrong. It went away. I don't know. It told me to edit and I didn't edit right and I couldn't escape out.
You shouldn't need to edit. If you go back into your videos, go into like your channel and then library, you might just see it sitting there in the back end somewhere.
I tried. I didn't find it, but I'll try.
Because you shouldn't need to edit it. You don't have to edit it. It gives you the option to edit it, but you don't have to edit it.
Well, that's what I thought, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't save something because of it.
It should. I mean, if you click go live, it's live. I mean,
that's what I thought. But yes, Marie, everybody, I'm just going to end. So God, we just thank you for this time, Lord. We thank you for session 3 and how you're just watering and teaching us, how to put on that lens to look at things from your point of view, how to put on that lens to realize when we are being triggered in something that we feel unloved, God, and what you want us to do to partner with it, Lord, so that we can move over to faith, we can move over to boldness, we can move over to courage, God, we can move over to being fearless. So Lord, I thank you, even at the sound of my voice, God, that until we meet again on Thursday, that you are going to just be magnifying this and bringing breakthrough for each person, that they are going to break through a new place, Lord, of awareness, of you just giving them revelation, God. We just thank you for the revelation that you're going to bring out of this, Lord, in your mighty name. Amen. Okay, everybody, I will see you in the community or back on Thursday. Celia, what time is it for you right now?
9:45.
Okay, so it's 11:45 p.m. for me. So I think we're
7 p.m. 7 p.m. South Africa time is when we start.
Okay, 7 p.m. South Africa time. So if you guys are watching this, those that are from South Africa, it's 7 p.m. So, okay, I'm going to stop this right now. So we will see you tomorrow or Thursday. And then if anybody wants to stay on for a moment of after party, we will. Okay.